I'm sick of feeling like I'm not compatible. It's hard to explain. It's like everything that I enjoy doing, it conflicts with another. And this direction now, it seems like it's the most simplified approach. It's what actually fits my life. Now, it's not that I'm done with Windows or Linux or anything like that. It's just that everything that I want to do has some sort of confliction to it. Now, I love using Linux. I've been a Linux user for most of my life, but the issues that I end up having with it are just really stupid things, and it's mostly just because of my workflow. So a perfect example of this is I use DaVinci Resolve for editing videos, and DaVinci Resolve is supported on Linux, but one of the drawbacks of that is you need the studio version in order to use H.264 or H.265. So I bought that, but unknowingly I didn't read, so that's my own fault, but it doesn't support AAC audio, which is like the #1 used audio on every consumer grade device. So my Linux workflow ends up being this completely cursed workflow where the footage that I'm using is in ProRes, and then I have to transcode the audio to WAV format, and then I'm editing in DaVinci Resolve on Linux. Apple's video format, Microsoft's audio format, closed source software on an open source operating system. Now, it's possible. I've been doing it for years, but it's a huge headache. Like it just takes so long to do anything. And it's mostly just because I know that it's easier on Windows or macOS because DaVinci Resolve just works perfectly on those. And you can upload any footage you want, even on the free version. I also play Forza, so that's another drawback because even in the Proton database, those don't have very good ratings. So the better approach in terms of gaming ends up just being a console because I just pick up a controller and I can play a game. It's not the best frame rates, it's not the best quality, but it just works. Whereas with Linux, I install a game, maybe it'll work. It's fun in that sense because it gives me something to do. I can look into it and try and figure things out. So then it's always giving me this like mild sense of accomplishment, being like, oh, I fixed this, like I made this work kind of thing. And that's where I like to reside in Linux, is that feels like home. Like I get to do my own thing there. There's no boundaries, there's no borders. It's just it's its own operating system playground for me to do whatever I want. But in the corporate world, you have to comply. So that leads over into Windows. And with Windows, it has compatibility for every single thing that I do. The issue with that is since Windows 7, Windows has been rapidly declining into a data farm rather than an operating system. That's entirely like a me problem. So you might like Windows, that's totally fine, all the power to you. This is kind of like a red pill, blue pill thing. I don't want to take the blue pill anymore. Like I don't want to just accept that that's what it is. People who actually know me in person will know that I was diehard Apple fanboy. At the Apple store, my brother and I were there trying to buy an iPhone for the very first one. I went to the United States to go get one because it wasn't available in Canada. The person that we were speaking to, he was asking what kind of AT&T plan are we doing? And me, not knowing that jailbreaking went against Apple services because this is a brand new phone and who reads the terms of services, I just told him straight up, like, oh no, I don't need an AT&T plan. I'm Canadian, I'm just going to jailbreak it. I'm going to use it on our carriers there. And he immediately, like, this is like actual quote, he goes, whoa, 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 end of convo, bro. You guys gotta leave. And he like waves over security to like escort us out of the store. And then the girl at the Singular booth, she basically just told us that if we go upstairs to Singular, because AT&T was buying Singular, so Singular has the iPhones available and they can do the AT&T contracts. She told us to go upstairs and just say that we were buying it for our mother and that it's a present and she's going to set it up when she gets it. So we did that, all fine, got the phone. It was awesome. I absolutely loved that phone. That was one of the best purchases I have ever made in my life, was the original iPhone. And then I got the 3G, the 3GS, and then I got the iPhone 4. And then after that, the 4S came out and it just kind of it sort of fell off for me. Like it just didn't it didn't feel like it was worth the upgrade. And I decided to try Samsung with the Galaxy Note 2. It sort of just changed my outlook on what I wanted to do. And that was it. I never went back. But even when it came to Apple computers, I had an iBook G3. I have my G3 iMac. There's my G4 eMac. I have a G4 iMac. My G4 iMac, that's the one that kind of has the design of the current iMacs, where it's just a screen on a pedestal. Then my three PowerPC G5s, 12-inch PowerBook G4, 15-inch PowerBook G4. Oh, I also had one of those white G4 iBooks. Like, I was huge into Apple. Like, at the time, they were the absolute best. When they switched over to the Intel Macs, I was very skeptical in that sense because of how hot those computers got. But after a while, trial and error, they all figured it out and it all started working great right until 2013 when they released the ones where you couldn't upgrade the RAM anymore. I've always just kind of had this image in my head that Apple died with Steve Jobs because the company has never been the same since him. Because it just seems like it kind of took a direction where instead of being this amazing company where they're human devices, not electronic devices, if that makes sense. But as it kept going, it kept becoming more corporate and it kind of transitioned from instead of, think different, it went to comply. You're not allowed to have an opinion now. You're not allowed to express yourself. The biggest example of this, it was macOS 11 when they switched from the 10 point whatever operating systems and they switched straight up to macOS 11. You couldn't even change the lock screen wallpaper. If I have to go through loopholes to get everything working with Linux, and if Windows just literally makes me feel terrible, like I don't want to do stuff, then I'm not going to use it, then I might as well try to actually use macOS because at least it's Unix based, so I'm somewhat comfortable around it. The hardware itself, like the human interface of Mac devices, has still never changed. They're still unrivaled. MacBooks have the best audio in any laptop ever. It's not it's not an argument. It's a fact. The newer keyboards on the 2020 and newer models are improved. That was almost bad. And the touchpad on a MacBook is haptic. Like the click isn't real. That was introduced in the 2015 and forward models. So the old one that still had, like the Retina was the first one that had that. And then the T1 models and the T2 models and now the Apple Silicon models. So it feels great. And the biggest thing for a touchpad is I use that all the time. Because when I'm using a laptop, or at least I'm going to be using my desk with a keyboard and mouse. Whereas when I'm using a laptop, I'm sitting on the couch, I'm in the backyard, I'm in the garage working on stuff. Like I could be in the truck, a hotel, I could be out of the city. It's a mobile computer to be mobile, right? So that the touchpad matters a lot to me. And using one, I used a 2020 MacBook Air for my Apple certification. And when I was doing that, that kind of broke me in the sense where I can no longer use a regular PC laptop. It's soft to click on the front and it's hard to click on the back. It's super uneven. And even though it's such a small inconvenience, it ends up being a deal breaker for me when it's something that I have to interact with every single time that I use the computer. Doing these videos for YouTube, for you guys, that's cool. But trying to run my own company and hopefully at some point start getting video editing into like a commercial grade, I need licensing. So if you're making a video on Windows or if you're making a video on Linux, then you need to actually buy a ProRes license if you're going to be doing it commercially, which is $40,000 Canadian. And the MacBook Pro, it comes with the license for ProRes. So that ends up being the best direction forward into just kind of future-proofing my life for what I do, just editing videos, fixing computers, phones, all that kind of stuff. But Linux, it's just, it takes too long to do a simple task. And even though I love it, and it feels like the digital home for me, it just doesn't fit my lifestyle anymore. And with Windows, it makes you feel like everything that you do belongs to a company, right? Like the operating system requiring a Microsoft account for countless things, the constant ads and everything that are fed into you through like every simple task, like all of these are fixable issues. It's just which ones do you want to fix? And in this sense, I might as well try to go with macOS. So that's kind of where it ends up is Apple computers are where I started with all this stuff. Android phones, I started at iPhones. Not to say that like I started with my first phone being an iPhone. It wasn't. It was a Motorola flip phone where like my brain kind of, caught that bug of tinkering and changing every single thing. That was with iPhone. That's what started all of this was Apple. Where I am today in the technical world of everything that I do, it originated with Apple computers and iPhones, and that started me off into this direction. It's time to go back where I started. There we go. This is my 2020 Intel MacBook Pro. I made like a little skin or whatever, just using some scrap pieces of vinyl, so that way it has like a black camo on the bottom and then gray carbon on the top. I got a matte screen protector for it, just something cheap off of Amazon. That's just so I can see it when I'm in the truck because I do a lot of editing on the go. It'll reduce glares enough that I'm going to be able to see the screen. And then I also got a clear tinted case to put the laptop in to protect it because I do a lot of work in the garage, so I don't want the exterior shell to get all beat up. I also have the keyboard cover on there, so that way that stops grease and whatever because I'm working on cars, looking at manuals, torque specs, whatever. Hands are covered in all kinds of nonsense from the depths of a vehicle. So when I'm typing on the computer, it keeps it protected. I just pull it off, wash it, dry it, slap it back on, and I'm good to go. You're not supposed to be here. Okay, this isn't right. We need to go back. How do we even get in here? How did you get in here? We can't let them know this is possible. You have to get in here. So that's it. I switched to Mac. I'm still a Linux person at heart. Like that's still going to be home for me. Windows is still going to be the most compatible operating system there is for anything that you want to do. But this ends up being what fits for my life now. It's just using a MacBook is just it's simplifying everything that I needed to do. And then in terms of gaming, I got an Xbox. But hopefully this simplifies my life enough that it's not going to take 6 months to a year to make a single video. Hopefully you're enjoying the higher quality content because this is what I've always wanted to do. Like I hate using that first person view or whatever, like the POV of working on stuff. It is a lot simpler because I can just get to work and I can start doing stuff and I don't have to write a script for notes and everything because I'm doing it as I'm doing it, right? Like I'm narrating as I'm doing something, so it's a lot easier in that sense. But the quality is garbage. So using an actual camera takes hours longer to make a video. It makes it a huge process. But that's what I always wanted to do. I always wanted to make really good, high quality, detailed videos. There was always just so much more that I had to do in the background like with Linux, like every single video of like B-roll and stuff like that, I had to encode that so that way it would work until I bought the studio version and then I didn't have to encode that. But even the videos that have audio in them, I have to transcode all of those. Like I still need the wave audio because AAC doesn't work. So using the DJI Osmo Action, that just ended up being the best because it's all one continuous video. Put it on my head, I do whatever I need to do, and then I just transcode the entire video so that way all of the audio is wave format, everything is done, I don't have to do anything. Clearly that sucks. Like those videos aren't great, like they're informative, or at least I think they are, but the videos still suck. So this is all in an attempt to start simplifying my life, simplifying the workflow so that way I can actually put the quality that I want to into the things that I want to put quality into, like these videos. I'm not going to stop doing Linux stuff. I know most of you people love the Linux content as much as I love making it. And obviously screwing around with Windows and trying to make all of that stuff work, I love doing that too. So I'm going to continue doing all that stuff. And this laptop is going to give me the opportunity to do that because I'll be able to run Linux natively, Windows natively, and macOS for all of my daily tasks and everything that I need to do. And who knows, maybe I'll start screwing around with parallels on this, even though it's Intel and I really don't need to, but maybe that ends up being a direction that I see fit. And then Apple Silicon becomes kind of a direction where I want to go in the future. I don't know. Maybe this is going to be one of the worst experiences of my life. Maybe I'm going to hate every part of this, and newer Mac OS is just so bad that I'm not going to be able to do anything that I want to do, and it's going to be super conflicting, and it's going to end up being this whole thing that completely reverses my entire thought process right now. In the sense of, going back to where I started on Apple computers, I'm not a PC. I'm a Mac. So, thanks for watching this video. This is obviously something a little bit different from my normal videos, but that's kind of the direction that I want to go in. I want to go into more detail and just kind of make better videos, make stuff that's not garbage. Oh, yeah, and there's also like countless people that have been asking me to make a Patreon. Um, I don't want to. I don't want to just accept money for doing nothing. Like that's why the whole members program thing for this YouTube stuff, I made it $1 because it's just kind of something to help out. It's not to make a huge income off of. Like I don't like that. But if I can figure out something to make a Patreon for, so that way it's actually worth it and you guys are actually buying something worth your money, then sure, I'll do that. But right now, it's just the YouTube members program. If you want to help out, it's $1. That's it. Okay, cool. So make sure to, like, subscribe, share, whatever, all that stuff that feeds the endless stomach growls of the YouTube algorithm. So, that way it'll promote these videos and then other people will watch it and then I don't know. That's how it goes. I mean, I don't really want the money from it, but it'd be kind of cool to pay my bills with this and then I don't have to do as much work and then, my life doesn't suck. So you'd be improving my life doing that. That's kind of cool. Or, don't. I don't know. I'm not telling you what to do.
Just slightly ahead of our time. Panasonic.